A nuclear reactor accident at the Cherynobl power plant in Ukraine has caused great distress across the Soviet Union. Experts say that this disaster may be rated a level 7 on the International Nuclear Event Scale. There were 2 fatalities in the initial steam explosion, but many more deaths are expected to occur as a result of the radiation. This has never before seen footage of the blast. We'll go to Becca reporting from the scene.
Ava, the Soviet government just released this information. I'm standing by the perimeter that the government has set up around Chernobyl. We have been warned that we are being exposed to high levels of radiation, so we will have to keep our broadcast short. The explosion took place at 1:23 a.m. on April 26 this time. Reactor 4, often called Chernobyl, exploded. 2 workers were killed in the initial blast. Firefighters immediately started working to put out the fires, but were unable to stop the pressure from building inside the reactor building, and the roof exploded. Large amounts of radioactive material was released into the air. Many of the firefighters that were working to put out the fires later died. 20,000 people have been evacuated from nearby villages. And to go any closer to the reactor, we'd have to wear hazmat suits, which we do not have. The experts say that the Chernobyl reactor was poorly constructed and poorly staffed, with the staff not able to do anything when alarms started sounding. The Soviet government covered this up for many days. It took about 10 days before we got this information. They immediately started working on the problem, however, sending soldiers to build a structure called the sarcophagus around the reactor unit to contain the radioactive material. Even so, many health experts predict that there will be many birth defects in the coming years in the surrounding area, and meteorologists say that the winds will pick up the radioactive material and spread it all around the world. Health experts say that some of the predicted side effects from the high levels of radioactive material exposure will be mental retardation in children, multiple stillbirths, high levels of cancer, and defects such as spinal.
It was like a thriller. Just before the accident, I had a party for my eldest son, who was about to enter the armed forces. And then, in the night, I heard the loud noise which shook the windows. Nobody paid attention to this until the next morning, when my neighbor asked me if I had heard the atomic explosion. We could not believe the reactor had exploded. I went to the next room to look through the window and could not believe my eyes. The 4th unit lay in debris, emitting light and sending smoke high into the sky. I told my youngest son to stay at home, and ran to my husband's workplace to tell him to be careful. Then I tried to find my eldest son. It was a terrible picture in Pripyat that day. People walked in the streets, and children played in the gardens. Nobody acted according to the guidelines for such situations. Even Pripyat Market was open, although the marketplace was in a direct line with the burning reactor. Radiation is still heavy at that place.
Whenever I think of Chernobyl, my heart begins to ache, because this tragedy became such a personal tragedy for my family. We lived in Galinica, several hundred kilometers from Policia. At the time of the accident, I and my husband Oles, I'm sorry, this is very hard. My husband Oles Grigoriev was born in 1958. Worked at the Lvov bus plant. I was an electrical vehicle driver. My husband was also a driver, and he tested buses. He was one of the most skilled workers at the plant there, and maybe that's why he was always given the most responsible tasks. In February 1987, Olas was sent to the zone as the head of a maintenance team to repair the buses made in Lvov, which were also being used there. We did all of these things to help overcome the disaster.
Now back to you in the studio, Ava.
Wow, what a devastating situation for those living near the power plant. Tune in to the Inside Scoop tomorrow for more updates on the disaster and more. Thank you for watching. I'm Ava Runge with HBC News.